What is up, everybody? Welcome into Shout, a Buffalo Bills football podcast. He's Ryan Talbot, and we got Dom Tibbets from Channel 7, WKBW in Western New York here on the program. Listen, I've been playing hoops with Dom for a couple of months now. He throws it in every once in a while that he hasn't been a guest yet on Shout. So I thought, hey, we got to get Damo into the rotation. What's up, buddy?
That's good. Hey, my marketing strategy, huge, just pay off. Just annoy Matt Parrino until I guilt him into an appearance on the Shout podcast, and it worked off. But no, I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me, guys. Good time, lots of fun in store.
Lots of fun in store. So you're on Christmas break. You're on Christmas vacation back home in Syracuse, coming to us from a coffee house, just getting after it. I appreciate your determination and dedication.
Yeah, shout out Freedom of Espresso in Camillus, New York, my hometown, for doing this, and shout out Matt Beauvais for working the sports department so I can take a couple days off after Christmas. So give a shout out as well.
We love Matt Beauvais on this podcast. We also love Tops Friendly Markets, which is ready to serve fan favorites this season. Let Tops do the cooking, and you'll be the MVP. Visit shop.topsmarkets.com and elevate your food game with a great selection of custom cakes, desserts, pizzas, sandwiches, fresh fruit, cheese trays, fried chicken, and so much more. Save time and easily shop with the convenience of no-fee pickup on all game day deals. There are no service fees, no tips, just the best deals in town. Score great deals in time for kickoff at shop.topsmarkets.com. All right, Ryan, I'm going to bring you in here. It's Jets week. It's a weird game. You don't know if what kind of effort you're going to get from that group led by Aaron Rodgers, who, man, we're going to get into him in a minute here. But what are you expecting on Sunday when the Bills go up against the Jets?
An absolute slaughter, if I'm being quite honest, Matt. Now, we don't have the injury reports, the final injury reports out yet. It's Friday morning. But they've already lost their left tackle for the remainder of the season. Their right guard, AVT, has not practiced yet this week. Their right tackle, Morgan Moses, has not practiced this week. We could be looking at a Jets O-line that has three backups: Carter Warren, Jake Hansen, and Max Mitchell. I know I've said it a million times. This is a matchup where the Bills' defensive line should absolutely feast on a bad Jets O-line. It was already bad with their starters. It's only going to get worse with three backups in there. You talk about on the defense side of the ball, Sauce Gardner not practicing, a lot of uncertainty about his status for this game as well. And I love the way Joe Brady attacked Sauce Gardner in the run game in their first matchup, kind of running right at a very poor tackler. But if you don't have him out there in coverage, that's another reason why I think in this matchup, you're going to see Josh Allen throwing the ball around the field and having a lot of success.
Dom, this is a Jets team that where were you on them going into the season? Because I feel like Ryan and I were pretty down low on the expectations for what Aaron Rodgers could be coming off of that injury. But there were a lot of people picking the Jets to win the AFC East, and now to see him here at 4 wins, not the script that I think a lot of people thought they were going to follow.
No, I got to be honest with you guys. That was me. I was one of those many people that had the Jets. I truthfully thought that if Aaron Rodgers was healthy, coming off the Achilles injury, the Jets defense is just so solid, so consistent. It's kind of been the one thing that I feel like they've always had going for them. I had them probably, I think, 12-5. I think I had the Bills at 11-6. So I still had them pretty close in my preseason rankings, but I kind of thought the Jets would just barely edge out the Bills this year. But then it almost doesn't surprise me because it's the Jets, right? This is just a franchise that goes through all these kind of things. But it really surprised me, I guess, in a sense, just how the wheels unraveled. I mean, Robert Saleh gets fired, and then just things continually just go down to a dumpster fire from there. So that, I think, has surprised me more, is how quickly things went south, more than, okay, they're not meeting their expectations. The Bills are above their expectations in the division. And it's if there was an opportunity for any team in the division to finally jump the Bills, you felt like this was going to be the year, and now it's not.
Yeah, and I think that you watch what they've done over the last couple of weeks, and I think you started to see some examples of what I think they hope they could be, Ryan. Like, Aaron Rodgers getting in line with Devontae Adams after the trade midseason. You figured that was going to come along. I thought, he had the touchdown last week, consistently a part of this offense, getting the targets that I think you'd expect Davante Adams to get in this offense. But there's also trouble brewing, right? Like even when Aaron Rodgers has a couple good plays, there is this disconnect between him and Garrett Wilson that to me is inexcusable for a former first-round pick, a young player. Like, this is the problem with Aaron Rodgers that I think will haunt his legacy. His inability to really embrace the group of players that he has and try to lift them up. Mike Williams thing earlier in the season, we talked about that. That's an example of where he just misses the mark. But in Garrett Wilson, like, that's got to be your guy. That's got to be the guy that you throw your arms around. You try to feed the ball to him. You got to make sure that you keep him happy. Not every quarterback in this league gets a bona fide number one like that. And to look at what's going on in Buffalo and the way that what Josh Allen has made with the group of receivers that he has after the departure of Stephon Diggs, it's just a complete contrast.
Yeah, I mean, you look at his whole Jets tenure and the fact that he was bringing on players from the Packers left and right. And obviously in his first season, he didn't last more than a quarter, lost for the season this year. They trade for Davante Adams. It was more about finding guys that he's comfortable with. Lazard, who's obviously rebounding nicely this year, but you have Garrett Wilson, who is a superstar in waiting. And you're right, he's not getting the target shares enough. There's been a few games where it's worked out, where he's gotten the looks, and it's paid off for them in terms of the yardage gain, the moving the ball. The Jets are just a very frustrating team to watch, with the Bills getting pushed to 425 last week. We were all treated to the Jets game against the Rams at 1:00. And I use that term very loosely, but the first, few series, the Jets looked like a decent football team. I believe they created a turnover on Matthew Stafford. They scored the touchdown. I'm like, okay, maybe they're going to get rolling after they came back and defeated Jacksonville, which not a very impressive win the week before that. But then after that, everything just stalled out for them. They ended up with 9 points on the game, a lot of missed field goals. So they did drive the ball a little bit, but Aaron Rodgers and the inability for that team to score points when you have some decent weapons, it's just kind of the story of the Jets this year. And when you look at Rodgers' stats, they're not terrible. They're not bad. But for whatever reason, that offense just isn't going and working the way that a lot of people expected.
Dom, it's a disjointed offense. It's one where you'll have a quarter where Aaron Rodgers it has something going. They can lean on their run game a little bit. Braylon Allen earlier in the season felt like a revelation, somebody that was going to really like spark this offense in a way, in a combination with Breece Hall. It just hasn't happened. How do you feel like what's the Jets' path to victory in this game? Ryan mentioned at the top, he thinks it's going to be a slaughter. How do you feel like the Jets can compete in this game?
I mean, it's almost what the Patriots needed, being a score away. They just needed a turnover. I think you just got to force the Bills to make some sloppy mistakes, costly turnovers, and you've got to find a way to keep it close, get Josh Allen off the field. I thought the Patriots did a really good job at just keeping the offense for the Bills off the field, which is obviously, one of the first things any defensive coordinator, head coach, when you're going against the Bills, is going to look to check off the list in terms of how to beat them and Josh Allen, right? So you're the Jets. You got to keep your offense on the field, which means you got to sustain some long drives, and you've also got to get some lucky breaks too. You got to find a way to get a turnover, make a play. That's what the Bills got against the Patriots with the Greg Rousseau force pressure and the screen pass that bounced off Antonio Gibson's helmet, right? Like, the Jets are going to need those kind of breaks to go with them, because I agree with Ryan's point. It's crazy to see the talent and offensively that Aaron Rodgers has to his disposal, and the two-headed backfield that I thought that Allen and Breece Hall were going to turn into. It's puzzling that they just cannot find any rhythm and just can't get anything going. So I want to also believe it's going to be a little bit of a slaughter too, but the Bills and their division opponents, they play each other so tightly. I don't know how anybody feels confident enough to at least, I don't know, maybe have that thought in their head. So if you're the Jets, you got to get some costly mistakes from the Bills. You've got to find ways to shorten the field and keep Josh Allen off of it.
Yeah, I think that one of the things for me in this game is there's a couple things at play. And we talked about a little bit about it on our show yesterday, is like, what's the approach to the game for Sean McDermott? Is it build up a lead and then like dial back some of your starters to try to limit how many snaps they get in this game. Dalton Kincaid was at 34% last week against New England. We see him in practice this week with the brace on his knee. That's got to be by design because he was playing well over 50% of the snaps all season long when he was healthy. So you got to like pick and choose where you're playing guys. And, the style of game of the offense could be interesting because I don't want Josh Allen taking any hits in this game if I'm Joe Brady. And I think that's going to probably go into how Brady calls this game, Ryan.
Yeah, it very well could. You don't want any injuries happening. We talked about this. I don't see any design quarterback runs in the playbook. I see you telling Josh Allen, avoid scrambling at all costs. And if you do, you either get out of bounds or you slide before there's any contact. Keeping him healthy for the postseason is the main goal for this team. With the last 2 weeks, obviously they need to clinch the number 2 seed. So they need one of these games to win. And if you can win this matchup on Sunday at home, you can essentially rest your key starters in the season finale, get your quote unquote bye week right there. So that way you are refreshed and healthy and likely to get a lot of those defensive players that have been banged up back for that wild card weekend matchup. So this game's big from the perspective of everyone needs to stay healthy, but they absolutely need this win as well.
I look at this Jets defense and up front, Quinnen Williams, the uncertainty around him, he's the straw that stirs the drink. Obviously, if he doesn't play, this isn't a defensive line that scares you. I don't even necessarily think it's one that scares you if he plays. I mean, there's just not a lot of consistent production across this thing. Will McDonald, he's put up the sack numbers, but you look last week without Quinnen Williams in the game against the Rams, 5 total pressure. Now, this is a Rams offense. Offensive line's healthy. They did a good job on the Bills a month ago, keeping them from getting after the quarterback. But 5 total pressures. Hassan Reddick has been an absolute flop. And listen, I think we could have written this story when he came back midseason. Like, he missed all of those snaps. He's kind of had to get ramped back up. In his first 7 games with the Rams, in his second game with the Rams, he had 8 pressures. In his last 7 since, he's had 9 total. So he's just been, for the guy that wanted this whole big new contract and to come in and try to spark this defense, Hassan Reddick just hasn't gotten that job done, Damo.
Yeah. No, and a lot of people on that Jets defense that I thought was going to be such a strong unit for them have not gotten it done. So, and the thing about the pressure too that the Jets are, you need something the Jets for them to go right. It's creating pressure in the defensive line unit for them. The Bills' offensive line is playing at a rate right now that might make them the best in the NFL. And Josh Allen, obviously, with his mobility, is such a hard guy to bring down and force pressure because he's so good out of the pocket. So, the Hassan Reddick, his agent has got to be doing the Arthur Shake Fist meme at how upset he's got to be with his negotiation coming up, and whenever they need to make a next deal, he's going to need a heck of a next season to reboost his status there as somebody of a premier defensive pass rusher in this league. But no, I'm kind of with you, Matt. I don't think compared to what it was in week 5 when they played at MetLife or whatever it was earlier this season, the Jets defense doesn't scare me nearly as much now. And again, I just think it also just goes to a little bit what you guys dabbled in with the offense. What are the Jets? What are they playing for? How committed is anybody in this locker room? Is there, when I watch Garrett Wilson after a game, and I think like, okay, if your star young wide receivers feeling this way, who's to say guys in the defense aren't feeling this way either when they're still continually not getting the job done? The Rams are beating them in a low-scoring game because the offense can't get anything done. So I look at this Jets defense, and I just see a very depleted unit. I see a unit that feels like there's going to be little to no motivation to get anything done in either the pass rush or just the pass coverage department. Maybe they'll have to step on the run game because if I'm Joe Brady, that's probably where I'm leaning on is a heavy run game to take that quick lead and try to get Allen and the starters off the field as early as possible so you're not getting them injured. But, again, Jets defense, big yikes for me coming into this one.
It's a big yikes from me, Ryan, if folks watching right now have not signed up to become a Shout Buffalo Bills insider yet. And you can do that right now by texting 716-528-6727. It's a 2-week free trial, $3.99 a month after that. The Shout text line is brought to you by Carrie C. Byer, attorney with the law offices of Francis M. Litro, located at 237 Main Street in Buffalo, New York. If you or someone you know is seriously injured, give them a call, 1234, or check out litrolaw.com. Go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, no, just real quick. On paper, the D-line of the Jets is still their strength. Will McDonald, Javon Kinlaw, Quinnen Williams, and then you have Hassan Reddick and Michael Clemens. Some of the names on that unit. But the Bills' O-line has been such a strength, too, that pretty much offsets that unit. And you look at the back end of that defense, as already mentioned, a lot of uncertainty with Sauce Gardner. The linebacker play hasn't been as good this year for the Jets. And then the motivation aspect of it. You're right. I mean, I don't think players are going to be tanking for a draft pick, but how up are you going to get for this game? That means absolutely nothing for you when you were coming in with all this preseason hype, Super Bowl favorite, this and that, and now you're sitting there with another lost season for many of these players.
And also, again, it's the tanking for a draft pick. I'm with you there because there's no way that the players care any bit about who they're going to bring in, right? But yeah, I just think you look at a locker room that probably is thinking about their Cancun trip in 2 weeks, not about what's going on here, this Bills game or whatever Week 18 may bring there too. So while I think the defensive line for the Jets is still a good unit, I also just think that the Bills are probably their best kryptonite, just again with the way that this offensive line unit is meshing right now. I mean, I talk about this a lot with, you guys in the beat. It's just like, I look at the way that Dion and Spencer are playing, and yeah, the penalties are there. Like, right. Like Spencer Brown had, I think, 2 holding penalties and a false start or something in there. And we've seen Dion go through this, right. But you take the little blurps away. I mean, that unit in general is just clicking at a rate that you guys have been covering this team professionally a little bit longer than I have. I've never seen an offensive line unit like the Bills, what they have this year. It's been a very refreshing thing to see from this unit. So if there's anybody who I think is up to the test of maybe that one last frisky effort the Jets defensive line is going to give anybody, it's the Bills offensive line.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important point to look at is like this rivalry, if you will, between the Jets and the Bills. It really starts at the line of scrimmage when the Bills are on offense. And, Deion Dawkins has had his chronicled disagreements with folks up front from the Jets. And I think that when he was asked about how he's approaching this game this week, he said, listen, it's the Jets. It's a divisional game. We hate each other. We're going to go out there. That's going to be the drive in this game. Like, there's probably a little bit of on the Bills side, like, I want to beat them up pretty good while they're down, just to kind of put the exclamation point on this thing. The Jets over the last 5 years have been the one team in the division that the Bills haven't dominated. They have absolutely dominated the Dolphins, the Patriots to probably a larger extent. But it's the Jets that have been this kind of weird team where a lot of these seasons they've split. And I think that's helped kind of propel the rivalry and the intensity in some of these moments. I think there's going to be a lot of talking despite whether or not certain guys play on Sunday for the Jets defense. And I think the Bills are going to be charged up to win this game, clinch the 2 seed. I don't think anybody on that roster in the organization wants any chance of going to Baltimore in the divisional round. No,
absolutely not. And you mentioned it, Deion Dawkins absolutely hates the Jets. The Jets hate Deion Dawkins. There's going to be some chippiness. There's going to be some fire from that O-line to kind of win some of those battles up front, create rushing lanes for James Cook, Ray Davis, Ty Johnson, and obviously to continue to protect Josh Allen the way they have all season. He's going to have something to say, whether it be on the sidelines or to some of those Jets players in game. And having a chance to sweep them after having some struggles in the past few years, losing to Zach Wilson coming in relief last year in week 1. I think it does mean something to this Bills team. And as you said, they're ultimately playing for the 2 seed this weekend, a chance to get some rest, to go into the playoffs healthy. And that's something they haven't been able to do in quite a few years.
All right. So for this next segment, Damo, we're going to kind of take a dive into each one of us will pick a player that we think can really impact this game. And I'm going to start off. Listen, the safeties are really banged up right now. I mean, Taylor Rapp, DeMar Hamlin, Cam Lewis, all in red on Thursday. We're recording this podcast before Friday's practice and the injury report and all of that. So hard to project what their status is going to be for Sunday. But I think no matter what their status is, I'm playing Cole Bishop in this game if I'm Sean McDermott. And I've started to like a little bit more what I've seen from him. Is he out of position sometimes? Of course. He's a young rookie player. That's going to happen. But what I think you're seeing week in and week out is him growing confidence-wise with each rep. He hasn't had the same opportunity that a Keon Coleman has had, a Dwayne Carter has had, even a Javon Solomon, who's had kind of like a secondary role where they've gotten all these chances to get a jersey on and get all of these like important defensive reps over the course of the season. He is learning trial by fire right now, which I think is going to be critical for the playoffs if he has to get thrown in if there's an injury there. Who are you looking at in this game to watch, Ryan?
Yeah, for me, I'm going to go with Von Miller. Von Miller or Greg Rousseau. Beat up O-line, potentially both offensive tackles. I'm going to go with Von Miller, though, because he flashed a little bit last week in that game against the Patriots. 6 total pressures, was winning some of those one-on-ones. You need Von Miller to get going as the postseason approaches. Obviously not the guy that they paid all that money to at this point in his career coming off of the injury, but you're starting to see some of the pass rush arsenal coming back. And if he can get on track in this matchup against the Jets and go into the postseason, because I don't expect him to necessarily play in that season finale if the Bills win on Sunday, then I think that you feel pretty good about maybe having some pass rush come playoff time with that combination of Von Miller and Greg Rousseau. All
right, Damo, who you got for us?
So Ryan did kind of take mine a little bit because I was going to say Greg for all those same reasons, but just to be different, I had another guy I was thinking of on offensive side of the ball since you two took 2 on the defense. I want Keon Coleman. I'm going to watch Keon in this one. I think Keon, in terms of just kind of the same argument Ryan gave about Greg and Von, you want to see those guys ramp up before the playoffs. I don't know how you assess the expectations that were on Keon's shoulders. I don't know where you are right now with the season not being done is how you evaluate his season so far, but I think it's gone above at least my expectation. I think a lot of people are pleased with the way Keon Coleman has played, but I don't think they're also thrilled. And I think it's because, one, obviously he had to deal with the injury for a second, too, and the everybody eats offense, the way the ball gets spread around. If you are looking to get ahead of these Jets and try to put up a first half score that allows you to maybe rest the starters and put the game out of reach when you get to the second half, you're going to probably need Josh Allen, this offense, start moving the ball down the field quickly and put up some points. And in terms of guys I want to see ramp up in the offense, it's Keon before the playoffs now. Because, to be honest with you, the biggest goal out of these last 2 games, if I'm Sean McDermott, is just I want my guys healthy for the playoffs and whatever's in store, whether I'm the 2 seed or the 3 seed, whatever it may be. I agree. You want to be the 2 seed in this situation. Get your guys healthy, ramp up a guy like Keon Coleman so you can start to see, like, okay, how much are we going to be able to lean on him offensively into this game here, because he's, your second round rookie wide receiver that has shown that he can be a prominent member of this offense. And I think that's going to be huge as they have to go toe-to-toe with the Broncos or the Ravens of the AFC and then the Chiefs, if that's the path they have to get to in order to get to their ultimate goal of New Orleans, right? So I want to see if they can maybe get Keon a little bit more involved and kind of start letting him cook a little bit, because for me, I haven't seen that since maybe the Seattle game, right? It was right the second game before he got hurt there. So, I want to see a little bit of that Keon, and I want to see him start to really build this rhythm in the offense that makes people feel confident that, okay, yeah, this guy can kind of be a big playmaker when playoffs come around.
Yeah, I think Keon's a really a good one, and somebody who's probably at a health perspective the healthiest has been since the injury. So put position in a place, especially if Sauce Gardner doesn't go, to maybe make some plays in this game. Even if Sauce Gardner does play, I think getting up for a matchup like that could be something that gets him going. Before we get to our predictions, Ryan, I want to talk about the Bills' run game in this game and how this could be a really advantageous area for their offense to really just bleed the clock, put together long drives. I thought the Rams did a really good job running the ball against them last week. The Jacksonville Jaguars the week before ran for 136. This is an offense or a Jets defense that went about a 3-week span there where it felt like they got things together a little bit in the run game. Colts, Seahawks, Miami Dolphins, 91 yards rushing, 84 yards rushing, and then 44 yards rushing. Then the floodgates opened once again. The Jags go for 136. The Rams go for 132 last week. And that was, before that 3-game stretch, it was the Texans going for 187 and Arizona going for 147. You can run the ball on this defense, especially with some of these guys missing in action. I think, of course, this could be a James Cook game, but maybe, in light of Dom's conversation there around rookie Keon Coleman, maybe this is an opportunity to give Ray Davis the lion's share of carries in the Bills' backfield, let him run a little bit.
Yeah, and we saw how that worked out the last time James Cook missed a game. When he was able to get a workload, he ran the ball extremely well, and he could be counted upon in that role. And it seems like as of late, it's been a lot of James Cook, rightfully so. Ty Johnson getting a lot of opportunities, and Ray Davis has kind of just been sprinkled in, it's felt like. So to see him possibly get maybe this bulk of carries, a heavy workload in this game, maybe if the Bills can get out to a comfortable lead, maybe he's the main back in the second half of that game. I think that would be great for this team too, because they do have three capable backs, but it doesn't necessarily feel like they've utilized all three to the best of their abilities at times this season.
Thank you so much for watching here on your Friday, 2 days before the Bills host the New York Jets. We have Dom Tibbets from Channel 7 in Buffalo, WKBW, kind enough to join us, give us a little bit of his time while on vacation. Like, what an absolute stud this guy is. Well, I mean, some days he is. Some days he is lighting it up from deep downtown. Like, he'll take some, Ryan. This guy, if he's feeling it, like if he heat checks himself, he will pull from the logo. Like, he'll be up 7 points. They just need 1 point to score. Just get to the bucket, and he will pull as soon as he comes over the half-court line. And I'm just like, wow, glad he's not on my team for this game.
Hey, a Stephen Curry type of a shot. Sometimes you're feeling it.
Yeah, I gotta be honest with you guys. I'm 5'8", and I've been 5'8" since I was 15 years old. So I knew that my basketball career, the very shell of it that existed, was going to be lived beyond the perimeter. You ever see me play in the low post? Matt can tell you it's not great. It's not great. I don't know what I'm doing down there. I get the ball. I get confused. I'm like, where do I go? There's a guy who's 6'2" above me. I can't do anything here. That's a quick dish out if I'm down there. Around the perimeter, that's where I make my money. It's where I get my contract boosted up. That's where we start getting the conversations going of those contract extensions.
Yeah, I heard like through the grapevine that like you were in for an extension. They were talking about like, $12 a season, something around there, like $12-15 a season. That's big time. Well, that's big time for the courts over there at Transit Middle.
Whatever it takes. I'm a glue guy. Happy to do my job. Happy to be a part of a good, Wednesday and Friday morning runs that we do. Matt's not too bad himself since he gave me, a little bit of shine. I'll give it right back to Parrino. He's pretty good too. When he's in the corner, I'll tell you what, this guy in the corner, can't leave him open. He hits a corner three better than anybody I've seen run at Transit.
Yeah, that's where I like to live. I like to live in the weeds, right? Like you just kind of like sneak up on a team. And that's the thing. If you don't guard me, I will make it. If you guard me, it goes poorly. So it's just, for myself. So, it is what it is. All right, Ryan, we got to get out of here in a second here. We're going to go to our number one key to the game for the Bills to win and the prediction. Go ahead.
Yeah, key to winning this game, defensive line just has to do their job and dominate against a beat-up Jets offense, keep them off the field so that way the offense can get out to an early lead. That is my key to the game. As for my score prediction, Bills win this one 34-16. They're able to kind of take the foot off the gas pedal late in the game and play some backups.
You're risky. You're risking it here. You went big last week and you got burned, but you're going big once again.
Yeah, got to. I think this offense gets back on track. The Patriots don't have a ton of talent in the wide receiver room, but Drake May made some absolute great throws. The running game was working early for them. I know that the Jets have more talent on paper, but they always seem to shoot themselves in the foot with bad penalties, plays where they back themselves up. It's been a comedy of errors of sort this season, and I expect that to continue.
19-9 last week against the Rams, 2 turnovers in that game. They weren't able to run the ball. So I think you got to be able to stop the run, force them to be a passing team, get after Aaron Rodgers. They're going to turn the ball over in that situation. He is just immobile back there. Like when he tries to, if he goes through a second, third read and has to come off of his mark, it is just ball game, especially with this front, which I think is going to be eager to build some momentum. I think they do that. I think they get up early. I think like 21-3 early, something like that, and ends up being 28-16 final with Mitch Trubisky coming in for most of the second half. We will go to our guest of honor next here. Damo, what do you got?
All right. I think it's very simple. I think when you play against teams that you are superior over, which I think the Bills are offensively and defensively against the Jets here, it comes down to always one thing. It's take care of the ball. Don't give a team life that doesn't need it. So I think you just need to simply take care of the ball, which the Bills have done a pretty good job of this year. I like them 27-17. I have them making one field goal because the Jets seem to just like, if it's one field goal and that's it. That's like their like quota they meet. They're like, we're good. We have one field goal. We don't make any more after that. But I just think the Bills have too much firepower still offensively. The matchup is always going to be Josh Allen versus Aaron Rodgers. Everybody takes Josh Allen in this situation. And I also think, to Ryan's point too, the defense comes in a little bit of a chip on their shoulder too, knowing that maybe especially up front, it hasn't been as consistent as it needs to be as you ramp up towards the playoffs. I like them in this spot as well. It's a division game, so I can't really go beyond maybe a 10-point margin. Just the Jets are a stingy team until proven otherwise with the Bills, right? But I like 27-17 Bills on top of this one.
There you go. And it's going to be a great Sunday in Orchard Park, rainy Sunday in Orchard Park, but it's Slider Sunday, and every Slider Sunday is just lit. Have it your way with King's Hawaiian at Tops. Every Sunday is an opportunity to enjoy delicious sliders made your way. Tom's like, what's going on here? And now you can win big while doing it. Vote for your favorite slider weekly for a chance to win tickets to the big game. Grab your favorite King's Hawaiian products from Tops and craft the ultimate sliders to make your Sunday even more special. Visit topsmarkets.com/slider Sunday. Dom, let everybody know where they can find you.
Yeah, so over on X, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, really any social media platform, Threads, Blue Sky, the new ones, always at Dom Tibbets, TV, DOMTIBBETTS TV. Channel 7, throughout pretty much the week. My schedule varies so much. You pop on Channel 7 at 6 or 11 or 5. Good chance you'll see me on there as well. And then if you are at the games, you'll see me in the Brown Vest Brigade, we call ourselves, on the Bills sideline. So I'll be a little less bundled up, but I will have heavy raining gear on now because apparently it's going to rain all game long, which thrilled for. But yeah, so that's where you can find me, and I appreciate you guys having me on. It was a lot of fun, and I'll look forward to doing it again.
All right. Final thought, Ryan Talbot.
Yeah, final thought. Big game for the Bills if they can seal this number 2 seed, maybe put a bow on Josh Allen's season 2 in this MVP race. Big game. Then we'll probably have a more clear vision, too, of who their first-round opponent could be following this weekend's slate of games.
We'll see you Sunday after the